All right, let me talk about addiction. This is something that I know a lot about. You know, first of all, my father was an alcoholic, and but to my father's credit, he didn't drink pretty much the whole time when me and my brother were growing up. He didn't drink much. My mother would have dumped him. The whole time I was growing up, my father got drunk maybe a handful of times, and every time he did, my mother went through the roof. You know, like that's the only thing he could do that would make her divorce him. That was the only thing. My mother had zero tolerance for my father drinking. And so he didn't do it. He didn't want to, he didn't want to lose everything over that. But there was a couple of times. Now, I don't remember ever seeing my father drunk, but I did talk to him on the phone once when he was drunk. And I remember being really annoyed with my mother for even putting him on the phone. He was so hammered. It was pathetic to me. And I was very annoyed and disgusted by it. And I was like, "Ma, why did you even put him on the phone?" She's like, I wanted you to see how he is when he's drunk." And I'm like, okay, I don't need to see it. I don't need to hear it. I don't want to know about it. You know what I mean? I was pissed off about that. But that was towards the end. My mother had kind of broken up with him. I'm not even going to get into it. But my point here, I have lots of family members addicted to whatever. My Uncle Jimmy. I got a couple Uncle Jimmys. But my father's brother, that Uncle Jimmy, he would come stay with us in Florida sometimes and just get hammered the whole time. And I mean shit-faced. The guy, he would drink so much. I was like... I could tell a couple of stories. I used to call him Drunkle Jimmy. but a lot of my family members addicted to all kinds of stuff. And so I have a lot of experience with it. Then on top of that, I lived on the street for many years. And most of the people who are homeless are dealing with addiction and mental illness. And that's the truth. So I've got a lot of experience with it. People keep replying to my Instagram comments, and it's distracting me. So yeah, I know a lot of people who are addicted. I've got a lot of experience with it. And then the cherry on top, I was addicted to heroin for almost 10 years, about 7 years. And to be honest, to be 100% totally honest, I've been addicted to weed on and off pretty much the whole time since I was about 15 years old. I got this relationship with weed where, here's my problem with it. One of the tricky things with weed is it seems so harmless. But I can tell you from experience, when I am 100% sober, I make shit happen. So, I am currently smoking weed pretty regularly. I don't smoke till the end of the day after I've got everything done. But I gotta say that, it still prevents me from doing a whole lot of things. I've got a whole other YouTube channel that I completely ignore. And the reality is, I still love my weed. You got to realize, weed's always been there for me. It's been like a really good friend to me throughout the years, but I don't need it anymore. You know what I mean? And the truth is, it's stopping me from doing a lot of things. I'll put it to y'all this way. Right now, my transmission is messed up, and I can't buy a new car right now. I got to save up a couple grand. I would not be in this boat had I not been smoking herb for the past 2-3 years pretty steadily. Because without herb, I have nothing to do except productive shit, And it sounds ridiculous to those outside looking in, probably. Like, I'm still productive when I smoke. I can't speak for anyone but myself, but I can tell you one thing. When I'm smoking herb, on a subconscious level, My whole life revolves around just getting everything done so I could relax at the end of the day and smoke. That's my main focus. Now, when I didn't have that, my focus shifted to stand-up comedy. Within 2 years of my first open mic, I was getting Comedy Central opportunities, which I blew. But my point is that when I don't have herb, I make shit happen. I don't know how to explain it, and I really wish it wasn't true. I wish I could be just as functional without it. But the ugly truth, a truth that I cannot deny, is that I gotta let it go. In order for me to move forward, I don't want to deal with this shit. I was just thinking this morning, like, man, I fucking love my motherfucking weed, bro. I don't want to let it go. And I'm rationalizing in my head, maybe if I smoke just on the weekends, you gotta understand, I really don't want to let it go, bro. But it's all bullshit, and I know that. So there's no point in lying to myself. I gotta let it go, But that's not even what this video is about. I wanted to tell y'all some things about some hard, ugly truths about addiction. And so, like I said, I have a lot of experience with this. I feel like I'm more qualified to speak on this than psychologists, psychiatrists, I've been around it my whole life. I've been dealing with it my whole life. Even me, myself. I know them. I know the mentality. And one of the things that really annoys me in the modern world, in modern Western societies, it just occurred to me. I hope I hope I didn't wear this shirt in the last video, but I don't know. But so one of the things that bothers me in modern Western society is they tell everyone that addiction is a disease. They tell alcoholics it's a disease. And what they're saying to you is that it's out of your control. You can't do shit about it. It's just this, you just got unlucky and you got to deal with it for the rest of your life. Well, to me, they're basically giving you an excuse to blame something besides yourself. Now, I'm not saying everyone needs... Look, I'm pretty harsh on myself. I try not to be harsh on others, but when you're kind of harsh on yourself, it's hard not to be harsh on others, because you sit there looking at them like you're just being a pussy about this, bro. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be mean or insulting or, I understand. Look, I get it, bro. It's hard. The world that we're in is upside down and insane, and it's very difficult. I'm not saying it's easy. But, the main thing, whatever you're addicted to, you got to toughen up. And you got to stop, start thinking of the people around you. They make, they give addicts all these excuses. Oh, you got a disease. As if it's not your fault. But who really suffers is the people around the addict. The addict is not concerned about anything. Everything's so hard. I want to escape reality. And what about the people around you? What about the people who fucking rely on you? There's people out there with kids. To my father's credit, he lasted throughout my entire childhood without drinking, maybe a couple of times. He didn't start drinking heavy again until my mother died, and he just didn't care to live anymore at that point. And so, my father toughed it out for a long, long time. I'm not even gonna get into my father. If you want to know about my father, go on my Patreon. I tell the whole story on there. I might as well stick a little Patreon commercial in there, because I don't like talking about it, to be honest. But it's, it's not like I don't love my father's dead. My father's been dead for like 20 years. But, me and my father were pretty tight. You know what I mean? Go on my Patreon if you want the details. Anyways, so, the thing with addicts, and I'm related to some, and I get really annoyed because there's this here like I can't say all of them, but a lot of them have this major issue with self-pity. They like to sit there and feel sorry for themselves. They like to cry. They like to be emotional. I've never really been that way. And to be honest, I'm pretty offended by it for a man to be acting like that way. It's like, dude, why don't you worry about the people around you? Some of them got kids and shit. You ain't worried about your fucking kid? Look at the shit you're putting your kid through because you want to sit there and feel sorry for yourself. I get it. It's not an easy thing to conquer, but you gotta conquer it. You gotta stand up and stop being this self-pitying, pathetic, I've got a disease. Yeah, no you don't, bro. Cancer is a disease. Going out and buying alcohol and getting shit-faced because you want to feel good, that's not a fucking disease. And I understand they try to rationalize it by saying, well, you don't understand how these people feel. They have all this anxiety and this and that. I do understand it because I dealt with it. And I still, to this day, have anxiety and stuff. Probably not as bad as a lot of people out there, but I'm an introvert. These people just keep responding to me. It's not easy for me to be out in public and shit. But I did things in my life to conquer those things. There's no easy way for me to explain why I was homeless, but to really simplify it, I've got a whole 7-video series on it, and I still didn't explain it all. But to really simplify it, I did what I did to conquer weaknesses within myself. I wanted to conquer things that I was afraid of. I didn't want to spend the rest of my life tiptoeing around and walking on eggshells and being afraid of this and that, and and I gotta say, after putting myself what I put myself through, I am it really had a positive impact on my mental health. As ridiculous as it sounds, but here was the main difference between me and everyone else who was homeless. I blamed myself 1,000%. And it wasn't even like, I blame me, I made a mistake, and this and that. It was that I just refused to be a victim. I refused to, technically, it really wasn't 100% my fault. I mean, everything just kept collapsing. Every time I would build up and start getting a couple bucks saved up, something would happen, and I would lose everything through things that I could not control. And so I could have gone the self-pitying route and, society and this and that. And look, I don't even disagree with that. This society is fucked up, and it is designed to bring out the worst in everyone. It just didn't work on me. I just refused to be a victim. Even when I was sleeping on the train in New York and not eating. I've been through the worst of the worst, bro. I used to think to myself, the shit that I was going through when I was homeless, it's beyond words. Especially, I was sober most of the time, at least for the first couple of years. And so, I was cold, I was wet, I was hungry, I was worried about making money to eat. I never panhandled. I never begged. I went out and earned every penny by telling jokes I wrote. I wouldn't even tell street jokes. I would tell jokes that I wrote. This stupid bus is sitting next to me making all kinds of annoying sounds. Buddy, get out of my face. And so, I've been through I've been through some real difficult and traumatic shit. I don't know if I'm traumatized or PTSD. I don't know. I don't care. I don't want no excuses. I don't need no excuses. I'm going to make shit happen. I don't care what happens around me. And I'm not saying I'm better than everyone else or this or that. But what I am saying is I don't think it's all a state of mind. You can do that too. You just got to be a little tougher. You know what I mean? And I'm not, I'm basing this off all the people that I've met throughout my life who are addicted to whatever. They just, they have this self-pity thing. And one of my problems is I don't have the self-pity thing, but I do have the anger thing. So while they're sitting there crying and feeling sorry for themselves, my blood is boiling. Like, when I didn't have, like, when everything was going wrong in my life, it made me want to fight. It didn't make me want to curl up in a ball and cry. It made me want to fucking go to war. And so, and it's, but I did end up getting addicted to heroin, and it's a strange thing, but I did conquer that. And when I say conquer it, I fucking completely 100% conquered it. I wouldn't do no dope right now. It would ruin my whole day. I cannot even believe that I used to chase that shit around the way I did when, and then what would I do when I got it? I'd sit there like a dead person, staring at the fucking wall, half asleep. I mean, you think I want to spend my life sitting there staring off into space and falling asleep in my... I mean, it's a complete waste of fucking time. And so, I don't even miss it. I think to myself, why did I like it? And I can tell you why I liked it. Because it had a psychological impact on me that tricked my brain into thinking that it was this glorious thing that made me feel really good. And sure, it does make you feel good, but it's not real. You're feeling good for no fucking reason, and you're not doing nothing to feel good about. And so it's like, now, when I just feel good naturally, although I still got my issues with anger, I'm stressed out about some things. My car's about to fucking die. But I've been through enough shit in my life I'm stressed, but I ain't that fucking stressed. I'm gonna get through it. I'm gonna get a new car. All in all, it's a blessing. You know what I mean? So I'm not even, it's not like I'm even that upset about it, but it's just, I just never, dude, it's that victim mentality. And it's really hard to break out of that. I understand that, because when I was younger, I did have a slight tendency towards self-pity sometimes. And I can tell you, one time, this was after my mother died, and my father, I'm living with my father, he's drunk every day. It's not like he's this abusive drunk, he's just this depressed person who drinks himself stupid every day and doesn't talk to anyone and just wants to sleep and drink, and and I was kind of feeling sorry for myself. But then it hit me like, you want to end up like that? Or you want to do something else with your life? You want to lay on the couch and drink all day, and then, is that what you... Because that's the path you're on with this self-pity. I was sitting there feeling sorry for myself. And then I said, I don't want to feel this way, and I don't want to end up like that. And so I'm going to stop feeling sorry for myself right now. And I'm telling y'all, there was a part of me that enjoyed it. It enjoyed this sad, oh, poor me. And there was something satisfactory about it. I couldn't explain it to you, but I really enjoyed it. Like, it makes no sense logically. I understand that, but I did, there was something satisfactory about it. But when I really started analyzing it and thinking to myself, that's what it leads to. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that. So I'm going to stop right now. I am not going to feel sorry for myself. I'm just not going to do it. Hey, life is hard, bro. And let me tell you something. It's hard for everyone. Another thing with these people who are addicted, they have it in their head that they've been through worse things than everyone else, and everything's harder for them. Oh, there goes a Honda Pilot right there. Is that a Honda Pilot? That's what I want to buy, is a Honda Pilot. They're pretty dope SUVs, man. And I tell you what, nobody pays them no mind. Thank God for that, because I kind of want a Toyota 4Runner. The problem with that is everybody wants a fucking Toyota 4Runner. So I can spend 10K and get an old ass 4Runner with 300,000 miles on it, or I can spend 10K and get a pretty new Honda Pilot with 100,000 miles on it. So, I'm going with the fucking Honda Pilot. Yeah, 4Runner's better off road, but that's fine. Maybe I'll buy a winch. I'll figure something out. Who cares? You know what I mean? I'm not. Anyways, let me get back to my point. So, that's another thing with these people who are addicted that I've noticed throughout my life. And look, I've met a bunch of them. They think, though everything is harder for me, and anyone, what motherfucker parking his bike right next to me, and like, what the fuck? Hold up. Hold on a minute. Dude pulls his bike up right there and is like looking at me. And then, as soon as I got quiet, he left. I don't like that. If anything happens, I'll film it. But, yeah, so that's one of the symptoms I see in a lot of them. They think everything is harder for them. I don't agree with that. I think everyone goes through shit in life, and this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Some people go through a lot of shit when they're younger. Some people go through a lot of shit when they're older. But I think all in all, once we're all in the next world, we're going to realize that we pretty much all dealt with the same amount of hardship and difficulty. I think it's about equal. Maybe not. Now, some people just have easy lives, and I believe they incarnate into an easy life because they had a bunch of rough ones and they want to take a break. You know what I mean? But, my point is that the people who are addicted and whatever, you got to get out of this victim mentality. It ain't gonna do you no good. It serves no purpose, except it serves the ego. Which, hey, look, I'm not some sort of spiritual shaman guru with no ego. I got an ego too. It's just that I don't put my ego before other things. You know what I mean? I'm willing to let my ego take a few shots to deal with what I believe is the truth. And so the mental illness and all this shit, you got to realize that, and it may sound crazy, because it is crazy, but the people who control the world, they want you mentally ill, they want you confused, they want you weak, they want you to be a helpless victim. That serves them just fine. That's what they want. What they do not want is strong, intelligent people who cannot be controlled. You know what I mean? So this is one of the reasons I believe that they put this whole narrative out. Addiction is a disease. You got a disease. There's nothing you can do about it. Dude, then how do you explain me? Who I was totally addicted to heroin. My life revolved around it. I got off it. And right now, you couldn't pay me to do it. The only way I would do it is if you offered me like a ridiculous amount of money to do it. And then I would sacrifice one day of my life and sit there like a fucking idiot staring at the wall, and I would do it. I'd snort a bag. And then I'd never do it again. I'd take the money you gave me and I would never do it again. Because why the fuck would I want to spend my life doing that? What's funny with me is, I'm not even going to get into it. The way I got addicted to heroin, that was one thing I always avoided because I knew it was addictive. But then when I did it, I didn't think much of it. I didn't see it as a threat. So I kept doing it every couple of, on the weekends or this or that. And then the next thing I know, you acquire a taste for it. In the beginning, I didn't even like it that much. It was this weird, it made me feel more weird than anything else. But, you know, but after a while, you acquire a taste for it. And then it changes. And it's like, it becomes what you want it to be. It's a weird fucking thing, dude. I kind of believe that it is an entity, like almost like a demon, that you know, once you do it a couple of times, it kind of figures out what you want from it, and it'll give it to you. You know what I'm saying? It's a fucking weird thing, dude. But, you know, and I almost, you know, jeez, it's already been 25 minutes. I almost got addicted to alcohol too. And here's a funny thing about that. My mother drilled it into my head as a kid. You better not drink when you get older because you got alcoholism in your blood, you know, and you got a high likelihood of getting addicted to it. I listened to that. I never drank much growing up. Even in high school with the partying, I would get hammered on the weekend. Only one day though. You know, I would never drink during the week, or every once in a while we'd go on like a weekend bender. But I would feel so shitty afterwards that I didn't even want to drink again until the next weekend. So I never really, you know, alcohol doesn't agree with me too much. Like I said, I'm an introverted person. I like to read. I like to play video games. I like to draw pictures. Alcohol doesn't work with that. You know, when I get drunk, I want to go out to the strip club and, you know, all of a sudden I just want to be around chicks. That's pretty much it. I mean, but like, you know, so what happened was how I almost got addicted to drinking. It was a funny thing. And if you're not addicted to anything, you better pay attention to what I'm saying here, because this is how it happens. So I used to do portraits in Central Park in Strawberry Fields. There's musicians that play in Strawberry Fields. I was friends with them all. They're all addicted to various things. Some of them are sober, some of them are alcoholics, some of them are on heroin, you know. But, it's an interesting group of people. I was friends with them all. And Jacques, one of the musicians who I was friends with, he's actually a black dude who would play guitar real well and cover Beatles songs. He couldn't sing that good, but he was really good on guitar. Jacques' strength was he would play to the crowd. He would talk to the crowd. Anyways, Jacques, very likable dude. So Jacques, he was an alcoholic though. And sometimes I'd be sitting there doing portraits and Jacques would come in early. His set is not until like 3 o'clock, let's say. It's 1 p.m. And Jacques would just sit next to me and we'd bullshit while I was doing my portraits. And he was always drinking vodka. And one day Jacques is like, Joey, you want a shot? I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Yeah, I'll take a shot. Jacques, give me a little shot. I do it. I catch a little buzz, a big shot. He'd pour some, it was probably like 2 or 3 shots. I'd drink it. I'd catch a little buzz, have a little fun. And for a week straight, Jacques gave me some alcohol. And I was starting to look forward to it. But at this point, I was already addicted to heroin. And I was thinking to myself, I'm not doing this. I knew enough people on the street who were addicted to alcohol and heroin. And I didn't want both. And so one day Jacques comes in. He's like, Joey, you want a shot? I'm like, nah, bro. I'm like, actually, I do. But I'm starting to like it too much. And he's like, oh, I get it. He's like, nah, don't do it. He's like, as a matter of fact, I'm never giving you another shot. And, he was... I realized right then and there, this is how it happens. It doesn't happen really to the people who go out and get fucking shit-faced on the weekends. It happens to the people who drink, moderately to barely any. And it just becomes this daily habit. And then, that's how it was going for me. It creeps up on you. Because up until that point, I never liked alcohol that much because every time I drank it, I was getting shit-faced and I was useless until like 2 days later, But with this, I would catch this fun little buzz and still function totally fine, still able to do the things I'm interested in doing. And I realized, man, you better stop this because you're getting addicted. You're looking forward to it. Anyways, hopefully this video makes sense. I could go on for hours on this subject, and I really didn't want to do another video like this because my last video was about getting off drugs, and the algorithm tends to, like, it just doesn't like these type of videos. But this is what's on my mind, bro. I have to talk about what's on my mind, otherwise the videos don't come out right. You know what I mean? I have to talk about what I'm thinking about, and this is what's been on my mind lately because, you know, I was thinking, these addicts, bro, you got to stop making excuses. You got to stop with the victim mentality. You got to stop feeling sorry for yourself. You got to start thinking about the people around you and what's best for them, and stop thinking, oh, I just want to, I mean, whatever, dude. Tighten up, toughen up, and stop. And get your life together. But, you know, I try not to judge people too harshly because I do realize that this entire society is built to turn you into an addict, mental illness. Just this entire society is to beat you down and break you and turn you into a slave who cannot fight back. And so y'all gotta fight against that shit. Maybe I'll make another video about this at some point in the future. I got a lot more to say about it, but that's the end of this one. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for the subs, thanks for the likes, thanks for the tips, thanks for the channel members, thanks for the Patreons. I'm gonna add another thing to the $3 tier on Patreon because I got a lot of loyal $3 members that I'm not doing. I should be doing more for them, so I'm gonna do that within the next week or so. I appreciate y'all, and yeah, that's the end of this one. If you want a response to your comment, try to get it in the first 30 comments. But yeah, that's the end of this one. I'll see you on the next one. Everybody have a good one.